Welcome to Insight Marketing Success, the podcast where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience, from vision to execution.
Hi, Noah.
Hello,
Welcome
Ricardo.
to IMS. I had the opportunity to meet with you, but for our audience, tell us who you are.
My name is Novah Greywolf. I am founder and CEO of Emerging Technology Group.ai. We're located in the San Francisco Bay Area here in California.
Wonderful. Tell us about your education and how you got to this point.
Sure. So I spent a lot of time actually in school. If we're talking about education proper, I did my business administration degree with a focus in marketing as my first undergraduate degree. I moved into electrical and computer engineering after that point, and then did my master's in data analytics.
Wow, that's tremendous. That's fantastic. And how did you decide to create your company?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2015, after I was done with my undergraduate in electrical engineering, I decided to I got a job in the Bay Area in California, and I was what they call a sales engineer. Basically, it was a mixture of engineering, technical engineering, as well as the front person who would talk about these engineering products to our clients and to other representatives of the company. So basically the bridge of sales and engineering, which was kind of a perfect space since that is what I was degreed in and had been used to. And then in 2019, there was a point there where I wasn't really agreeing with how the company was running, mainly with its sales and marketing department and how we were doing outreach. And I had slowly been trying to work with that company and changing the way that we would reach out to others. And they were really old-fashioned, even so old-fashioned in a way that faxing was still a thing. And so, and this was just, 6 years ago. So that was just really out of date. And it was a lot of work for me to do the backpedaling of the way that they did their sales and marketing. And being a technology company in the Bay Area, I kind of got a little bit stressed out on how they were running their sales and marketing department, which I was part of. And so I talked to the founder of that company and said there were a couple things that I'd like to implement. Better CRM software, better outreach campaigns, more digital transformation type of stuff. Instead of these onesie-twosies, we're emailing each individual person with a customized email and then a phone call. It was a lot of cold outreaching, which, as you know, is very difficult and time-consuming, and you get a lot of hang-ups or a lot of non-emails back. And I thought there was just a way better way of doing that, especially since we were in the Bay Area. And nurturing those leads and contacts just didn't seem like a big priority for this company. So I decided that I was going to kind of do it on my own and jump out of how they were doing it, because I just saw such a need for what they were doing, but they weren't doing it in a way that I thought we could really prosper in. And so I started Emerging Technologies Group as a digital transformation company, basically helping other companies transform the way and their methods of how they were doing it in the past into more of a outreach that had CRMs, that had more intelligent landscapes, more information-based outreaches. And so I was helping mainly within the CRM functions of getting information and then doing that cold outreach with information. And that's pretty much how we initially started, is on the sales and marketing and digitally transforming sales and marketing agencies.
Wonderful. So as you started this idea, you created your company, and I assume you are starting with a lean budget as you started the company. What's a big marketing challenge? What led you to success? What was your first home run, let's say?
Well, very good question. So what actually led me to success into actually developing revenue within Emerging Technology Group was finding business. And finding business for me meant actually working in the government side, government education side, because they provide RFQs and RFPs pretty much consistently. Being an engineer, I decided to go ahead and do technical products once again. So we did shift from being a digital transformation company because 2019 happened, 2020, and COVID happened. And then everybody was in the market, or every company was doing digital transformation. Like the big named companies were doing that now. And so there was little market for me to come in there. But now that I've already been digitally transformed, what I did, I started contacting agencies, the Department of Defense, let's say, or the city of San Francisco, the city of Modesto, and contacting them and then getting onto their rosters and then basically sending out quotes for all the things that we could actually provide to them, mainly in the computing landscape. So they needed new hard drives for their servers, they needed services attached to that. So what I did is I did a couple things. I found very strong manufacturing, OEM manufacturing companies that would support me reselling their products. And so I was using my method that I had learned to try and help other companies do, and used it for myself, and then reached out to suppliers, agencies, and then potential clients, and then bridged them together. So I was no longer selling my own products at this point, in my own services. I was selling others, which allowed me to really focus on the sales and marketing part of our company.
Awesome. And that's where you created your skills. That's where you honed your skills.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. So so I assume your sales to the government or these agencies became a success, and you got some big POs?
Yes. And one of the, use everything that you can to your advantage when you're sales and marketing, right? So
Sure.
being already working with the government and education most of my life, both my parents are Navy officers. Like I got some information about like how the government works. There are set asides for small businesses. There are set asides for certain ethnic groups. And so what I did is I went and I found a need, and then I just catered to those needs where they actually needed me, particularly because of what I offered as a human as well as a business. I was a small business. I come from a certain ethnic group. So I found that niche where I wasn't necessarily competing with the whales anymore. I wasn't needing to compete with Dell. Instead, I was a partner with Dell, so then we can get these other POs from the government that Dell would never get because they're too big. They don't have set-asides for those type of companies anymore. So they actually, Dell needed me as well as the government needed me because they have 25% that they usually try and give to small businesses and ethnic groups. So I fit right into there. So my competition was much smaller. So it's finding something that you already fit into that allows you to have a competitive advantage over others.
Awesome. How do you approach storytelling in the process of branding your company?
How do I do the storytelling? So really, relationships always blend together with good stories. And if you could tell your story of why you do something, that's really a great place to start. So why are you selling to the government? Why are you selling at all? What moved you to be the person that you are? Like this conversation that we're having right now, why are you doing it? Why are you communicating this narrative? And when you become vulnerable in your stories and you let them understand what your story brings to the table, you become relatable. And so I always try and give a why statement. Why are you doing this? Why am I doing this? What moves me? Why do I want to help you? I become instantaneously relatable to a company, and then you build a relationship because now you've garnished basically this need that they want to know more about your story. Oh, wow, you did that? Oh, wow, that's really interesting. Well, let me tell you about a story that I have. And then boom, right now you're actually talking as two humans and not a big company or a big organization. You're talking as two human beings that are sharing vulnerabilities with each other. And then that's what caters to that initial relationship building. Once you have that relationship, people buy from people. So that's then you get the repeat POs. They look at your
Wonderful.
company, they know you.
All right. So, given your experience, obviously you have been in business for 5 years or so, what advice would you give to a company that is struggling to differentiate themselves in the process of marketing themselves?
As I mentioned just a moment ago, know your why. Know your why first. Know why are you doing what you're doing. And once you know your why, then follow your why into your goals. And then once you have your goals, then separate that into KPIs, key performance indicators. So why are you doing something? The goal that you set for yourself, so you have a target to go to, and then your milestones, your KPIs on how to get there. When you start tracking information, you'll be able to actually see what works and what doesn't. So marketing is pretty much just shooting in the dark sometimes until you have information that's loaded that you know where the target is. And so the biggest thing that you can do is keep all your customers in a database somewhere. Have information that is readily available, and you continue to build that database. The database is your bread and butter. So if you're struggling, get more information, do more market research. One of the biggest things that maybe you could do is your business plan. Nobody really likes to do the business plan, and I don't understand why. It's like your strategy of your whole company. So start with a very good, solid business plan. See if there's ability for your market penetration, and then if there is, then go for it. With that becomes your why. Your business plan becomes your why and your goal, and then it allows you to track how you're doing. And so if you're not doing these things, then you're trying to be lucky. And so lucky is just exactly that. Are you going to be lucky today or not? And so without luck, that's why these big companies like a Facebook or Meta or Google, they use data to see what best is going to work for them. So do A/B testing. One email blast to this customer doing this, and another email blast to these type of customers, and see which one works best until you start hitting the target every time. It takes practice, dedication, but if you're not taking in the information and you're just keep on rolling with it, it's not going to be helpful. You have to collect that information and make it useful for you. So if you're struggling, I'm assuming that you're just running as fast as you can and you're not really shooting for actual targets that you can hit. You're just hopefully going to get lucky and you're going to be fed tonight. But that's not how giants really do it. Giants see over all the trees and they know exactly where they're going. And so that's what you need to do. You need to build your flying vessel so then you could see where you're heading to. And that's fundamentals. Break back to fundamentals. Yes, it's about making money, but fundamentally it's about adding value to whatever market you're going for. So are you adding value to your clients? Are you adding value as a company internally to your employees? Add value, and then from that value, see how you can market that value and make a proposition to others. Look, this is my value. And if they value it too, and then you follow in with your why and your narration, then you may get a loyal customer.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, Nova, what technologies are you most excited about, especially right now with AI and the ability to get data of just about anything? What are you most excited about?
So what I'm most excited about right now is agentic AI. Agentic AI is basically agents that it's programming that basically it's an automation tool that also implements different AI, generative AI. So an agent that goes out and emails 1,000 people or corporations with AI in the background that basically caters to that company. Maybe even scrapes information, gets information from their LinkedIn, gets information from the World Wide Web, gets information from Instagram. Wherever the information is, you can have agents that are doing that. And prior to agentic AI, it was me having to do it. It was you having to do it. And that, as anybody knows, cold outreach and research just plain research takes tons of man hours, meaning that it's going to be extremely expensive. Whereas if you can learn agentic AI and implement these into your practices, that agentic AI will actually be very helpful to grow your company like a solo entrepreneur who doesn't have 10 and 20, 100 employees, allows you to grow that company to a place where you can afford those live humans to assist in activities that need to be done by humans, like a call. So right now I have agentic AI running a lot of my background in cold calling, in email outreach, and campaigning on LinkedIn. And they never sleep, they never stop. And so I can continuously be in the background doing cold outreach to hundreds of thousands of different people, depending on what my market is. And then once it's a warm lead, which as any person knows, a warm lead is great, or a hot lead is even better. If you could get on the phone all day with real people and you have a warm or hot lead, that's where your bread and butter is. That's where you're going to get fed. The cold outreach is very difficult for anybody. I did tons of cold outreaching, 100 calls a day. It is wearing. It is hard on our system. And so if you could find ways to mitigate those really hard things that you could automate, that's where you want to do. So the technology of agentic, and it's going to be bigger than ever. I mean, it's not going to take your job, but it's going to definitely take portions of what you used to do that were very manual in the past and allow you to do your job better. So I'm extremely excited to see where agentic AI takes us.
Wonderful. Novah, if you could go back in time to just about when you graduated from your school, because I know you have a lot of degrees, but let's say your latest one, and just about when you were to start your first job, okay? And you could whisper in your ear to that Novah, what would you say to yourself?
That it's always going to be difficult, that everybody who wants anything is all competing with you. And so the smartest and brightest and best are going to be competing for that trophy. And just because you can't see them does not mean that they're there. So if the struggle is there, it's real and it's okay. Struggle through it, but find ways to mitigate that stress. Find ways of meditation. Find ways to do physical activities. Find a network of people who are also struggling that could assist you with mentoring. Find a good mentor. I mean, that would be the biggest thing. Find somebody out there who's willing to basically sponsor you, if it's your boss or a good friend who's in the same space as you, that can give you tidbits of information that could help you succeed. It's extremely important to find a mentor or a sponsor. Without that, it's another thing, you're shooting in the dark. You're going to have to experiment and experience, and sometimes that takes a lot of time and effort. And another thing that I whisper is throwing money at things doesn't mean success. So Amazon may have been able to do that, right? They just threw money year after year after year until Amazon was a success. But that is one out of 1 billion companies, 1 million companies, right? So throwing money at any opportunity is not necessarily the way to do it. Being extremely talented and smart and thinking with some foresight before you spend money is really what you should do. If you think somebody's coming at you and they're like, hey, I need $10,000 and we're going to do this for you, I would say, can you do it on your own? Can you bring down the payment to 1/10 of that so you could have them help you with a small piece of it, so you're not spending 10 grand with some kind of expectation that never happens for you, and slowly work into that, and growing too fast as well. I mean, there'd be many things I would say to myself, but growing too fast is also a problem as growing too slow. And there was a piece of my company at one point, we grew so fast in sales that we couldn't actually handle it. And what I mean by it is we have 30-day terms, but some of our suppliers, we had to pay them immediately. So we had issues with trying to fulfill orders because we had so many of them, but then we had a issue fulfilling those because we had to then have $1 million in our account so we could actually fulfill all these orders. Even though we were making 1.4 million on what we're doing, we still wouldn't get the money for 30 days. And so you just need to know a lot of information. That's why having good mentors is so necessary in your business.
So let's go back to that issue. How did you solve the problem of the cash flow you got?
The cash flow problem, I failed. I failed on that. It was a failure for us, actually. We pulled out, we lost a lot of money, and we had some disgruntled customers
Because you
that
didn't
didn't
fulfill
ever
the orders.
receive their product. And so it was not a success. It was a learning mechanism. And I had no idea that you could grow so fast that you would fail. Like, that to me was unbelievable, that we were making so much money, but yet we failed in that endeavor. And we were offering a lot of computing products. This was the time right before the cryptocurrency everybody was buying all these computer parts. So everybody was buying at inflated prices all these computer components from us, and we just could not keep up with the flow of money. And so we ended up pretty much destroying that line because of it. Our channels were destroyed because of it. We started getting bad feedback because we couldn't actually deliver on our promises. And which is very sad because, I mean, that could have been a very successful moment for us. And it wasn't. It was a teaching lesson.
Novah, thank you very much for your time today. If you were to give a piece of advice for anybody who's starting a new company, what would that be, besides getting a mentor, as you indicated?
So I keep on hearing this over and over from many employees who are employed with right now. And they say, I wish I was you, so I was working for myself. And I would just have to say, when you actually start your own company, you do not work for yourself at all. You work for all the hundreds of people that you actually are catering to. And no longer is it one boss that you have. You have many bosses, all your channel partner, like, you have all the bosses in the world. If you think that you're going to jump in to your own company and spend less time doing it and spend less money and make money and all these things, you're in the wrong game. That's not going to happen for you. It's going to take you years before you make any money, and you may lose a whole bunch of money because you may learn really rough lessons. And so what I would say is, are you ready to play at that level? Are you ready to play at the level of risking pretty much your entire livelihood? If you've saved some money in your past, are you ready to lose it all by your investment? Are you ready for that path? And if you are, go for it. But don't think it's an easy task. It's actually probably like running an ultra marathon. It's going to be extremely difficult because you're playing with the other million entrepreneurs that are also trying to do the exact same thing. And some of them have more money than you. Some are more educated than you. Some of them have better connections than you. How do you get ahead of those people? And really, it's about work and effort. How much more can you work than they do? And so my advice would be, are you ready to do that ultra marathon? And if you're not, stay employed until you have the skills, the money, and the mindset to endure a ultra marathon. And it may not just be a 6-month thing. It may be years. And you may have to upskill. You may have to go back to school while you're also running your own company. You may have to do things, move, pivot. I mean, it's not going to be easy. But once it's all done, it's like running that ultra marathon. Once you're done with running the ultra marathon, it hurts, but you feel so successful in yourself. And so you feel this. For me, it's like it feels so good to be in a place where I can count on my own abilities instead of somebody else.
I agree, and it's not for everybody.
No.
I am 100% in agreement with you. Novah, thank you very much for your time today in IMS. Look forward to getting to know you better and learn more from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ricardo, for having me on.
Thanks for listening to Insight Marketing Success, where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience from vision to execution.